Hi, I'm Kat and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be turning this skirt into a hat. Yeah, I do dearly love this skirt. It's a wonderful fabric, it's a great material, but it's a size 12 and I'm currently a size 16, on the bottom at least, and my goal weight will take me back to being a size 14. So I don't foresee a future where I'll ever get back into this. Um, Nor am I particularly in any hurry to be that small again. That seems like too much like hard work for someone with a middle-aged metabolism. So yeah, it's time to find a new usage for this skirt. And yeah, it's great. And yeah, I could give it to the charity shop, but it's mine and I love it and I'm greedy, so I'm keeping it. Um, so what I thought I'd do was use the fabric to make a hat. It's lined, so I can get both the lining and the hat itself out of this garment. Maybe have enough left over for two hats. We'll have to see how it goes. So the original, the first hat I'm going to make out of it is going to be a Baker Boy cap. So of 8 segments around, made off of this pattern, which I drafted from one of the many fairly identical seeming tutorials online. And then a cap brim, which I'm going to cut out of this takeaway container top, patterned off of, I guess, a baseball cap brim. Maybe a little, maybe a little shorter. We'll have to see. Might be a little small. We'll see how we go with that, or some other spare plastic. So I think first off, the thing to do is to get some Netflix on and sit and unpick this skirt into pieces, so that I can see what I've got to work with and cut out on the flat. So I've unpicked this skirt. It was actually more panels than I thought it was, so a lot of them are only sort of this wide. But fortunately, for the most part, that is just enough to get the pieces out that I need. Because I drafted this pattern based on a single run of the tape measure around my head and the head measurement. I think what I'm going to do is keep this by and just cut the pieces from the lining and see if that feels like a reasonable fit, before I move on to cutting the main fabric. So let's see what my lining mock-up comes out like. Well, that was a dramatic moment where I just sewed through my finger. 30 years of using a sewing machine. I don't know how my finger ended up there in the line of fire, because it's all a bit of an adrenaline blur now. I'm trying to think back after the fact. But it did, and I stabbed myself fully through the side of the finger, about 2 mil in from the side. Yeah, well. Needle broke, not inside me. Well, it did kind of break inside me, as in it broke above and below my finger, which I guess was better than it snapping into actually inside me. So there was just a small bit I could pull out. The end with the thread in ended up somewhere, It didn't seem like any thread ended up in me, which was very odd. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, the tip vanished off so far that I actually found it on my chair. I'm kind of a little bit in shock. But my husband made me a tea with sugar, which is the best emergency fodder one can have. Damn, that was a surprise. Okay. New needle. More care. Okay, got my lining all done, and quite like the fit. It's a little loose, but hey, that's okay, and especially as it means that I could not have to worry about tucking my hair up in it or any other such thing. Yeah, so given that the lining fits, I'm going to progress with that same pattern piece using the wool. Still all shook up from stabbing myself. Right. Got all my pieces cut out. Let's crack on and make the top. The lining like in Egypt. Anyway. Love it when I go in my stash and the stuff that I need is right in there. So I've got a handful of self-cover buttons. So first off, let's cover a button. So my battery ran out while I was filming and I didn't notice because I was so engrossed in the sewing. But this is where I'm up to at this point. I've got the lining and the top both sewn and now sewn bagged out to one another. The only place it's not connected is between the lining and the brim, which I'm going to finish by hand. But first off, I think I'm going to do a row of top stitch to just make the lining and the lining and the top sit together nicely. Yeah, pretty chuffed with this. I did have a quick try on and it is actually much too big for me. It's very slack and loose, but actually that's fine because then it's not going to perch on the top of my head. It's going to encompass a lot of my head, and I think the way of it was that I was inclined to be a little generous because the last hat I got, which said it was my head size, was ridiculously too tight. I think it lied. So I went a bit generous with this. Yeah. Very close to the end. Oh, and I've still got to sew my button on the top. But yeah, end is in sight. There we go. Started as a skirt and now it's a hat. Yeah, it's a bit of a loose hat, but hey, that's fine with me. I can gather my hair up in it in the back. I'm trying to think how it ended up so loose when it didn't seem quite so loose making it out of the lining, the test piece. But and I felt like you gave it a solid amount of seam allowance, but of course with this many seams, if I'm a mill out uh, on both sides of 8 seams, that's a couple of centimeters, which makes a difference. But I'm fine with it being loose. Pretty chuffed. I'm not happy I sewed through my finger. I'm just can't believe I did that. I'm just not getting over that. That's so weird and alarming that happened. But there we go. Yeah, the brim. I don't know. I think I could have used something a bit stiffer. So maybe two takeaway tub tops. But hey, all lessons for next time. Um, yeah, so I hope you enjoyed watching me do a quick hat make, and I also hope that you have a smashing day.